Hi everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Janice and I'm a Thermomix consultant. So I've been meaning to do this one for you for a while. And I just want to let you know the few things that I've picked up from this recipe. When we were travelling around Europe, there was pastries. We had the big smorgasbord breakfast and there was all these different pastries everywhere, you know, like danishes and scrolls and muffins. Sorry, it's twisted, hang on. We had the breakfast, provided breakfast most mornings, and there was danishes and muffins and the scrolls and all these delicious pastries every morning at breakfast. And this one is very similar to the ones that they used to give us. And it's an apple and sultana custard scroll. So what I'm going to do is I've saved it into my week. So to get to my week, I'm going to go to the three little menu arrows, my week, and I've got a whole heap of things saved for today, but I'm not necessarily going to make them. I just, there it is. I was just making a list to sort out on the weekend for some upcoming events I've got. Rightio, so it's sultana, apple and custard pastry. So I'm going to start cooking. So first up, we make the pastry. It's a bread dough. It's a yeast dough. So that was clean, yep. It's got a little bit of water in it from, I've just fed my starter, so it's got a little bit of water in there. So I've taken out everything I need for the bread, for the recipe. And I'm going to get the dough going and then I'm going to sort it out. 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now I do make my own caster sugar. In the basic cookbook it gives you the steps to making icing sugar and caster sugar with your Thermomix. 170 grams of full cream milk. So this is a sweet dough. Two teaspoons of instant yeast. It's a while since I've made this and I was suddenly wondering if we made the custard first, but we don't. 2 teaspoons of instant dried yeast. So I'm going to just tip it down the side of the bowl so it doesn't sit on top of my blades. Because I'm not tall enough to see in the bowl. With things, when you're adding like dry ingredients to wet ingredients, you just got to make sure that you're not plopping the dry ingredients on top of the blade, otherwise they won't get contact with the wet ingredients. Rightio? And now we're going to pop the lid on. 2 minutes, 37 degrees, speed 1. Rightio? And we'll let that activate and then I'll come back for the next step. Okay. So now this is, I don't know if I said this is a sweet dough, like a brioche or something like that dough. So it's made with milk, butter and egg. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in 40 grams of butter. I'm just going to cut it up into smaller pieces so it kneads through. Okay. I suppose I should start weighing it. Okay. 350 grams of baker's flour. an egg, oops, a pinch of sea salt, and now we're going to mix it for a few seconds. 5 seconds on speed 5. And then we're going to knead it. So I'll show you what this looks like now. So that was just a really quick mix up. And now we're going to knead it. So I will give that a scrape down. It's 2 minutes using the knead mode. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up this mess a bit, and then I'll come back when we're ready to tip this out and get it to rise. Okay. And now it says to transfer onto a lightly floured silicone bread mat, or transfer onto a lightly floured ceramic or glass bowl and cover with plastic wrap. What's that under there? Don't know, that's okay. So I haven't given that a scrape out. I'm just going to tip that. Right. Scrape it down. Okay. And now we're going to just wrap it up in this silicone mat and then pop it aside in a warm spot to prove for 30 minutes or like doubled in size. Rightio. I will be back. Right, the next step was to clean and dry the mixing bowl, which I have done using the pre-wash mode. So I've just run the dough pre-wash mode, which is in your mode. So if we swipe this way, pre-clean, and I've just done it on the dough mode. So I'm going to, and now because I can now go back to my recipe by clicking on the little green bookmark, and I'm going to give that a rinse and a wipe out. So while I tidied up the rest of the stuff, I just put a litre of water in here, set it to the pre-clean mode for dough, and now that's done and I'm cleaned up and I'm ready to go on to the custard. Rightio, I'll be back. Rightio. So that's done. We've got a clean, dry mixing bowl, and now we're going to make the custard. So we're going to make the custard now and set it aside to cool, so when we're ready to assemble, the custard is cool. So we're going to tear that. 30 grams of corn flour. I actually thought I had a scooper in there. I must have taken it out. Oh, that's 32 grams. That is okay. Next. And then it says 50 grams of raw sugar. So I have done it with the raw sugar, but it sort of gives you custard a bit of a brownie look. So I'm just going to use white sugar. Now this 50 grams of sugar makes a very sweet custard, and I was quite concerned about it when I made it last time, but I found that because it's a dough and it's just a really thin layer, you can hardly even notice how sweet it is. It doesn't make it into an overly sweet bread roll or scroll. And now we're going to put the lid on and we're going to mill the corn flour and the sugar together. 4 seconds, speed 9. Okay, and then scrape down the sides with the spatula. 1 egg, and 160 grams of full cream milk. Rightio. And now, it says to go straight to the cooking mode, but I find it's best to give it a quick whiz. So if we go back to the home screen, and I'm just going to whip it on speed 4, and I'm going to scrape the bowl down, because otherwise I find the corn flour just sits on the bottom and cooks into like a thick gluey layer on the bottom. Whereas if you mix it through, and it doesn't need much mixing, just those few seconds. Can you see that? That's there. So that's mixed through. Now I am going to give it a little bit more mixing, because there's still a few yellow strings of egg there. Rightio. So let's give it another 5 seconds. Okay, now back to the recipe. 6 minutes, 90 degrees on speed 3. And it says to, you can prolong the time by an extra 2 minutes if necessary, until a thick custard consistency is achieved. So I'll be back once we get to the next stage, and we'll check the consistency. Right, so we're going to check the custard to see if it's reached the desired consistency. I'll just show you that. And I'll give it a stir, because it just says it's got to coat the back of the spoon. So that is coating the back of the spoon. And then set the custard aside to cool. Rightio. So I'm going to put that into this bowl. I'm going to clean my Thermomix, because I'm going to use it for a different recipe, and I'll be back to finish off the scrolls. Okay, so our dough's all nice and risen. It says to preheat the oven to 180 degrees. Line a baking tray 30 by 40 centimetres. Now this one is actually like 20 by 35, but I find that's big enough. And this also makes, it says it makes 16, but I'm only going to make 12 today. I'm just going to cut it into 12, so they'll be a bit bigger. So it said to line the baking tray with baking paper. So what I was showing you, because I was distracted, is this is the rose gold, and one of the rose gold baking trays, and it's got the baking liner that comes with it. So this, you can buy these in a set, and you get the tray, the liner, and also a cooling rack. And it can either go underneath or in if you want to cook something on a rack. Rightio. So I've got the set of 4 baking trays, and I absolutely love them. Rightio. Oh, this one here. Sorry, I'm pressing buttons over here. Rightio. So transfer dough onto a lightly floured baking tray, and we're going to roll it out into a square. It says 30 centimetre square, but then they talk about rectangles later on in the... So I am just going to roll it out into a nice big rectangle, And I'm not going to make you watch me roll out dough into a rectangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just come back when we get to that stage, and I'm also going to do a bit of stretching. I'm not just going to roll it out, because I find stretching works as well. So rightio, I'll be back when I've got this out into a nice big rectangle ready to do the spreading and the rolling and the chopping. So what I was saying before is I stretch it out as well as roll it, and I find that stretching it out makes it so much quicker, and then if you finish it off with the rolling pin, that sort of evens out your so it's, you know, all the same. Now that's like, I don't know how wide that is, but that is bigger than 30 by 30, which is what they want. And then they give you here, if you want, there's a little video you can watch on rolling it out. So with the TM6, there is in some of the recipes on Cookie Do, if they're telling you about a particular technique, there's a little video that you can watch. To give you a better idea of what they're talking about. Rightio? So now we're going to cross out of that and we're going to go next. And it says spread the cool custard over the dough. And I'm going to grab a little bowl. Rightio, it says to spread the cool custard over the dough and then sprinkle with 90 grams of sultanas, 90 grams of apples, and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. So I want you to know that I don't usually weigh the sultanas or the apples, but for the sake of the recipe, I am going to. So we've got 90 grams of sultanas. Oh, hang on. So we're going to go here, scales. And it's about that many. No, it's not. It's this full right up to the top, I'm sure. Anyway. Rightio. So maybe I go a little bit under with the apples, with the sultanas, because yeah, it's usually just a really good handful. Rightio. So we're going to start off by spreading this custard. And now this is cool custard. And I'm going to go right to these ends, but I'm going to leave an uncustarded area here for where it's going to roll over and stick to the top layer. And I'm not going to go right to the edge here either. So this isn't a real, it's not a real big mouthful of gobby, big mouthful of custard. This recipe, it's, okay. Sultanas. I should weigh things more often, shouldn't I? Because obviously I haven't been putting on quite enough sultanas. I'll probably make up for it in the apple. Okay, rightio. And it says 90 grams of apple. So what have we got here? Because I usually put a full apple on. So rightio. So I lost my video there. My iPad turned off. It must have been too low in battery because it's down to about 10%. Anyway, it turned off, so we missed it where I rolled it and I cut it, and I used my my dough cutter. Hang on, I'll just grab it. Okay. It's a bit wet and gooey because it was just thrown in the sink with everything. But I use this to cut this into 16 pieces. And how I do is I do the big roll, then I cut it in half, which makes 2, cut them in half, which makes 4, cut them in half, which is 8, and then cut them in half, which is 16, if that makes sense. And I find that's the easiest way to get nice, regular, sized scrolls. Now, they're not perfect. I mean, nothing I do is ever perfect, but it's good. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them now to rise for an hour. I'm going to leave them. I've got a nice warm spot. I'm going to pop them in. I'm going to leave them to rise for an hour. When they have risen sufficiently, I'll come back and I'll show you what they look like before they go into the oven. And then once they come out, we'll give them a taste. Okay, so these have actually been here for longer than an hour because I had to duck out and do stuff. But see, so they're probably a little bit overproofed, but I'm going to pop them in the oven now and I'll come back when we're ready to taste them. So that is our scrolls. Oops, hang on, they're hot, out of the oven. And that is the cooling wrap that comes with, and that also fits inside this tray. So, just going to see if I can get one off here. These are warm. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I tore that, and you didn't even see it because I didn't have it over the camera. Hang on. Delicious. This one is delicious. We make this one a bit. Oh yeah. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please give it a thumbs up? Pop over to my channel and subscribe, and I really hope I'll see you next time.